welcome to Chitchatchai, another episode. We have a very famous guest come back on. We have Wajeeha come back on because of immense demand, and it seems like no one else is watching my other podcast episodes. We brought Wajeeha on, and we're going to do something slightly different. We're going to have a full series with Wajeeha. We're going to cover all the areas of expertise that Wajeeha navigates around to do with finding your partner, finding the one you're looking for, what you should do, shouldn't do. And then she's going to talk about some of the workshops that she's doing. So for all the guys out there that are hella awkward, we're coming for you. We're here to help you. And for all the ladies out there with like weird demands, we're also coming for you. So Wajeeha, do you want to do a quick intro for the people that don't know you or haven't seen the first 2 episodes?
Yeah, sure. So my name is Wajeeha, and I run MUSCONNECT. MUSCONNECT is all about bringing Muslims together, whether it's in a form of networking, making friends, or finding your partner.
So on the topic of finding your partner, I'm sure everyone's ears are prickled up now. What do you think are some of the key challenges with how people are trying to find their partner today?
Yeah. Well, can I first just start off by saying how important it is to find your partner? And I feel like, especially in this day and age, we're like really underestimate the value of that. A good partner apparently helps bring so much positivity into your life. Having great relationships is a huge part of yourself as a person. So I feel like this process of finding a partner is not looked at like into too much detail. We kind of are like, oh, we need to find someone, we need to get married. But it's such an important part in our life. Why don't we give it that much attention? So, I want to put a lot of spotlight onto this because I feel like in the past, this was kind of done for us. Arranged marriages were just something that happened. We are the first generation as millennials to go through finding your partner yourself, but we don't know how to do it, So I'm here to kind of help people navigate that journey, but also put the spotlight onto it and make sure people are doing it properly.
Exactly.
I've been doing this for a while now, and I've been reading lots of books, talking to lots of people, and everyone has the same story. It's really hard to find a partner. It's impossible.
Yeah. But just to touch on the good side. So I watched a video and the guy said, actually no, we went to the Halal Expo and this guy came up to me and he was like, oh, isn't it better to be with someone than be alone? And he was like, wouldn't you put more emphasis on trying to find someone rather than being happy with your individuality? And I was like, what? That's such a different way to look at it, right? Because everything we do, like career-wise, it's all like individual. Like, oh, these are my achievements. This is what I want to do. This is the money I'm making. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to go on holiday and stuff like that. But then he was like, but why wouldn't you put more effort into sharing that with someone else?
Yeah, absolutely. Life is so much better with a partner. And, I always say to people, if you can find that partner sooner, you can share those experiences together and build a life together. And so many people say to me, oh, I'll be single the rest of my life. Yeah, fair enough, do that. I'm not about that. At MUSCONNECT, we're about making sure people find their partner.
And making those connections.
Yeah.
So going back to the original question, so what would you say are the key challenges with how people are trying to find their partners today?
Yeah, so kind of going back to what I was saying about millennials kind of going through this, we're the first generation to go through this. So we firstly don't know what we're doing. So as Muslims as well, we don't know what to look for. We don't know what expectations we should have. We all create this checklist, but it's based on literally our likes and dislikes. Oh, I like sushi. I want to find someone who likes sushi.
Like sushi, yeah.
That's so wrong. But also at the same time, I understand that people don't know how to do this. So many other cultures have been doing this for decades. Their parents have taught them how to, go through this process of finding a partner. But we don't know because my parents got married as an arranged marriage and etc. So we don't know how to do it. I think that's kind of one of the biggest problems.
Yeah.
A couple other problems is this paradox of choice.
But before we get to the paradox of choice, you were saying that our parents, they got like arranged marriages and stuff like that, and then you said likes and dislikes.
Yeah.
But back in the day, I feel like everyone had similarities in likes and dislikes anyway. There wasn't this massive divergence, right? In like things that you like doing. Yeah. So was it also easier back then compared to now where like the world's your oyster, right?
Yeah. There's something called individualism, which is so more like like predominant now. We as a person identify like, I like this, I'm about this, and that comes into like finding a partner, because it's like it's all about me.
Exactly.
Do you know? And there's nothing wrong with that. That's great, but it shouldn't shadow your process of finding a partner. So you should be thinking of, okay, well, this is me as a person, but how can another person come in and bring that as well, rather than be like me.
Exactly. Okay.
Yeah.
So what were you about to say before I said that question?
Yeah, no, so I guess touching back to what you were saying, like let's look at like our parents' generation.
Yeah.
So I think the maximum amount of options our parents probably have was 5, and that is if you were lucky. Okay, here's 5 people, pick.
Yeah.
Right? And some people did even get a choice, right? Okay, fair enough, that was extreme. But if you look at those relationships, they lasted.
They've endured, yeah.
Like a majority of them lasted. And there was also the kind of the thought behind of like, okay, right, I'm with this person, there's no such thing as divorce, right?
Yeah.
And obviously divorce is important if there's like abuse in relationships, but also they had this kind of thought process of, okay, I'm with this person, we have to make it work.
Exactly.
And I think some of those takeouts are actually quite important, and we sometimes need to kind of refer back to that. So the paradox of choice is a real thing, because now we have apps. You know, you go to events, there's like, what if you go to an event with 100 people, 50 of them are like the opposite gender, and you just don't know, you can't choose.
Exactly.
I go to a restaurant and I see 10 options on the menu. I can't pick between 10 options. If you gave me 3, I would make that decision within 5 minutes. And I know it may sound a bit crude talking about that, about in terms of finding a partner, but
yeah. But it's the reality. It's the reality.
This is the reality, you know, people.
And I think the paradox of choice is difficult, because you can be talking to someone, getting to know them, and then there's that honeymoon phase where everything is like rosy, and then you're getting into like, you're actually getting to know them, and you're like, oh, like say for example they snore, or something like that. I'm using a blasé example.
That's a good example, yeah.
And then you think, oh, there's someone else. And because you're speaking to them at that initial stage where everything is rosy, you're like, oh, let me just jump onto that. And like maybe explore it. Maybe there's something better there. Yeah.
So I want to talk about that, because that's really interesting. Because this book that I've been reading, I really recommend it. Just like how to not die alone. I've got the title of it.
Shout out, first guest to ever bring a book. You know, we're moving up. Yeah.
This book is amazing, and I know that it doesn't talk about Muslim and our culture. There's loads of things that I took out from here. So she identifies people within 3 different categories: romanticizer, maximizer, and hesitator. So what you're talking about, this honeymoon phase, is typically within romanticizers. So, again, in South Asian culture, Bollywood movies were a thing, right? And still are a thing. Everybody wants to find their Shah Rukh Khan. And so there's this whole honeymoon process. Is like, you idolize someone, you put them on a pedestal. You don't know who they are.
Exactly.
And you put them on a pedestal, everything's rosy, everything's perfect. But then, when the kind of the cloud goes, it's kind of like, oh, they're a snorer. They always snored, like that. It always happened. Is you're removing that bubble from your head, and that's wrong. So you and again, each to their own. You can be a romanticizer, but you have to be realistic. So what happens? People go into this process of finding a partner and think, oh my gosh, like. Such and such should be good. I want to look at all the aesthetics. And they see all those aesthetics and they get roped in. And then 3 months down the line, those aesthetics are still there. But then all the ugly stuff starts coming out, right? And that person that was on a pedestal comes off that pedestal. So I think the approach towards this is kind of wrong, and you should really identify the kind of person you are when you're kind of
So could you quickly give like a summary on the romanticizer, the maximizer, and what was the other one?
Hesitator. Yeah. Okay. So interestingly enough, there's a quiz on our website. I really recommend going onto it and working out where you are, because I was equal balance with maximizer and hesitator, which is really freaking scary. So romanticizer is someone who wants to not meet their partner on an app. They want to meet them on the train,
in the coffee shop,
in the Swiss
the
mountains, airport, and like the music should be on, and it should be like all that kind of stuff. Literally, they're like, and I relate to that. When I used to watch Bollywood movies, I was that person, and I quickly came out of that because it's not reality, you know. So that's kind of romanticizer has all these ideas, and so those kind of people tend not to burst their bubble. They want to stay in that. They'll go onto an app, they'll match with a few people, go on a few dates, and quickly they're like, oh, I don't like this reality. Let me go back into my ideal scenario of putting music on and thinking, oh my gosh, this perfect person exists somewhere. So that's romanticizer. A maximizer is the kind of person who's like, okay, the person that I'm looking for needs to be this, 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 this. Like, how do I maximize on that person? So they're always picking faults out. They're like, oh, but they're not like this, they're not like that. They don't work here, whatever. And a hesitator is like, oh, I should lose weight before I get back into the dating journey. I should have enough money. I should do this. I should do that. So, you know, they're always never perfect in their eyes.
To go forward with
Exactly. So, but I think it's a really helpful tool to identify where you sit, because then you've got something to work on. So, for example, as a hesitator, you know, putting yourself out there when you're not perfect is something you should really try and do, you know, and
see what the feedback is like. Yeah,
see what the
because
feedback
they
is
won't,
like.
people, guys won't care about half those things. Yeah.
No, exactly. Yeah. And a maximizer, you know, like picking faults at their partner, you know, and stuff like that. So, you know, you have to really like think about all those things. And then when you go on, you know, can I say date? when you go to meet someone, you should be trying to thinking about the experience rather than thinking, oh my God, checklist, or they're taking this. You know, you've got to actually think, oh, do I enjoy my time with that person? So I find doing this really, really helps. It kind of like gives you a little methodology of how you should approach.
How to approach it.
Yeah.
But then how does that help you with the option? What was it option? The paradox thing.
Yeah. So going back to the paradox of choice, so this is a very, very long conversation. The whole having too many options, but the way dating or the process of finding a partner happens right now, I think it's so crude. I think it's awful. People sit on apps, swipe, and you know they don't really put that much effort into it. A lot of people don't agree with dating apps, but actually, so many people are on them. So you have a lot, especially for us Muslims. Like, where do we go to find someone? So apps are a good starting point, but it's how you use the apps.
Exactly, your intention on them.
Exactly, that's important. And then so the way you use them is, you know, fair enough, you swipe, but start limiting how much you swipe, you know, and swipe with purpose. And girls, like, stop saying no to every single guy. Like, oh, I don't like how he's smiling, you know. And I know guys are like different, where they say yes to everyone.
And then see what pops up.
Exactly. And then girls say no to everyone. So you know, it's insane. And the way with apps is limit how much you use them. Maybe use them once a week, and maybe set aside like an hour. And think, okay, right now I'm going to look at this app and I'm going to look at my options. I want to swipe maybe 5, or maybe say I'm going to say yes to 2 people, and then close it.
Exactly.
Move on. It's just
interesting,
it's just an avenue. But if you get lost in that paradox of, oh my gosh, there's like so many people, that's where it's going to get confusing.
Yeah, well, for any app designers out there, maybe this is an app idea, right? Like an app that you can only use for an hour and you get 10 swipes and that's it.
Yeah, I mean, there's loads of apps out there, like Hinge as well. Like Hinge, I think, limits certain things about how many people can see. And I mean, Muzmatch and apps like that, I think they're great. There are people on there. You also have to remember as well, they've just created a platform for people. It's how you use it.
Exactly.
You know, and that's really important. So that's an avenue to meet people. And the in real life events as well, like obviously we run them as well. Again, there's so many people there, but you have to really think, okay, realistically, out of these people, how many people fall into my age bracket? That's obviously one thing, you know, but also within those people, just think, okay, today I'm going to go and speak to someone. I'm going to make the effort, go and speak to someone, and I'll try and have a conversation with them.
And see how it goes,
Yeah, exactly. Take action, because you know, there are people who come to my events and they leave, and I ask them, well, what did you think? No. And that's kind of encouraging this paradox of choice, because they come back and they think, oh, it's fine, like I'll go again, there'll be more people.
Exactly,
You need to think in your head, you do not have options, you know? And if you think with that mindset, you will work better.
That's interesting, yeah. Going in with the mindset that, oh, I'm actually here. But you know what? I don't agree with the apps. I know you're saying it's an avenue.
Yeah.
But I think it's more better to go in person to an event, because there's so many things that you learn just by seeing someone in person.
Yeah.
Like how do they carry themselves? That's a massive thing for women, right? Like, oh, you notice how a guy carries themselves, their body language. You take so much feedback from that.
Yeah.
Like for guys, I don't know about you guys here, but I'm so bad at taking photos. I swear to God, I'm like the worst. But if you see me in person, I know I have like the charisma, at least, right? What do you mean? What do you mean? I have at least enough charisma. But you see how there's like two different versions of a person, right? But with women, they're amazing at taking photos, and then they're awkward in person. So it's like, bro, I'm joking. I'm joking. All the women are gonna hate me.
He said that. I didn't.
So, okay, so I know we're gonna do a series, and we're not gonna touch on everything in detail today. So you've talked about the option. What do you call it? The paradox of
choice.
Paradox of choice. So we can have another session going deep into that, because I think there's a lot to it. There's like a psychological element that, oh, the grass is always greener. And then when do you tie your camel, right? Like when do you do that? What signs do you need to be like, oh, this is the choice I'm committing to, you know? And
absolutely.
what are the things that you need to accept when you do that? You know?
Yeah, absolutely. Another thing I do want to mention again, it is like my top 3 list is, I guess generational trauma is one thing, and it feeds into attachment theory. I won't talk about it too much right now because it's a minefield. Yeah, it's a minefield, but it's a huge problem.
Do you want to give a quick summary on what attachment theory is?
Yeah, sure. So attachment theory is essentially when you're a child and you're growing up, is how you kind of bond with your mum usually. So you have essentially the 4 main types, which is anxious, avoidant, secure, and dismissive or disorganized. And, you know, it's really important to know what your attachment style is, because that's how you can communicate with your partner. So if you are someone who's anxiously attached, you're going to panic all the time because you think that person's going to abandon you. If you're avoidant, if you know your partner's avoidant, then you need to know that you can't keep pestering them because they will run away.
You need to give them space. Exactly.
You know, exactly.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's not a lot of secure people out there, but I've met them and they do exist, but secure people get hitched really quickly.
Yeah, I can imagine, because they know what they want, right?
They have very little trauma because they're, a number of reasons, but you know, good parenting helps secure attachment. But within Muslim households, unfortunately, it's very rare to have secure attachment. So, and we carry that within our relationships. Whereas in the past, obviously, marriage used to just happen and people used to have to get on with it. Now it's like we have to deal with our attachment styles and we have to learn how to navigate them. But what I find frustrating is that there's not enough education on this.
Exactly, and I think specifically around South Asian families, we don't. First of all, I only found out about this earlier this year. Where was this before?
It was always around, but I think there was not much awareness about it. Like it's studied in psychology and stuff.
Yeah, but it's only becoming popular now as well.
Yeah, because we're now looking more into ourselves. We're doing therapy, etc. I remember I asked this girl once. I was like, "What's your attachment style?" And she goes, "I like to send things in PDFs." And I was like,
"The worst joke."
No,
days.
No, but she was like, "PDF, email," and I was like, "No. I mean, what's your attachment style?" Yeah, so that is basically how bad it is. We don't know what our attachment style is. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot in parenting as well. There's so much things that can happen. Like parenting is like seeds, right? The things that you experience as a child, it's like a seed, and then over time, that's when it grows. And once it grows into your personality. And you really need to understand, like, oh damn, how did these branches develop? Like, what is the root cause of it?
Yeah.
A beautiful analogy. I just came up with that, you know. Wow. But that's the thing as well, right? Avoidance attract the anxious.
Yeah, it's very common. Because it's that push-pull, isn't it? The avoidant pushes, the anxious chases, and then, you know, it's this, that.
Exactly.
So it's also a typical narcissist relationship as well. The narcissist tends to be avoidant, and the other person tends to be anxious. So, yeah.
Oh, that's a tricky one.
Yeah, but narcissism is heavily embedded within our culture.
Oh, well, this is a whole other episode.
Yeah.
I'm
not going to get into it now.
So we can get into the paradox of choice. That's going to be another episode for all the viewers waiting for this. The second one is going to be around attachment theory.
Yeah.
And I think it'll be interesting if we can go into examples of things that Asian parents, because maybe a few of the viewers are having kids now, right? Like I know a lot of my friends are having kids now. So it's like as they're entering parenthood and it's a new phase for them, like what are some of the things that you should like look out for? Like what are some of the communication styles you should have with your child now that you can then like ensure that they have it, right?
Yeah, but also one thing I want to say as well, like, you know, if you have a certain attachment style, it doesn't mean it's like the end of the world. It's workable because, like I said, there's people who are securely attached are like the minority. So if you are someone who's anxious, avoidant, disorganized, you can have a fulfilling relationship with your partner as long as you communicate.
Exactly, communicate needs.
There's so many people I know, like a lot of my friends that are like in that situation, but you have to establish good communication and it can absolutely work. So it's not like, oh, just because I'm not secure, I'm not going to find a partner. No, it's not like that at all.
So are you doing any workshops around attachment theory as well? Like helping people understand what it is, how they could communicate better?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. So hopefully next year we're going to have a little quiz on the website where you can work out what your attachment style is. That's the first like main step. We're going to start doing some workshops on understanding how to navigate with your attachment style, how to communicate better with your partner, and just general like, coaching of how to communicate better. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'll give a little shout out as well. I've spoken to Wajeeha about this before, and phenomenal tips.
Oh, really?
Phenomenal. Like, because I think it's difficult because, like, say I have an avoidant attachment style, which I may have. It's difficult to relate to other people because you think everyone else is like you. Do you get it? Like, I didn't know what secure was like until I was like, yo, geez, like, are you secure? And then they did the quiz and they're secure, and I'm like, wow, this is amazing. So I think having that outlet to say, oh, this is how you're communicating now, but this is what a healthy communication style looks like. I think just soundboarding that helped me massively.
Yeah, and there's a lot of shame associated with this as well, which is why a lot of people mask their attachment styles. Like a lot of people think, I can't ask my partner why he didn't text me back because there's shame associated with that, which is coming from our parents. I don't know where it's coming from. So I think us as Muslims, we need to remove all that shame and be like, okay, this is what I'm like, and I'm totally okay with if you're avoidant, I'm okay with that. I just need to establish these are my boundaries.
Exactly.
If I am uncomfortable about talking about X, Y, Z, you tell the partner. Do you know what I mean? But you need to know it first. So if you don't know it,
you need to make it like. I think another thing that would be good as well is if you establish the foundations of what a partnership is. Like like when you do business, you say, oh, you're my partner in business. This is the ground rules.
Yeah.
You can do the same thing with
100%.
Exactly.
Yeah, I always say to people as well, like especially when you're starting your journey of getting to know someone. People like say, oh, we don't talk about communication. In fact, you should talk about communication at the very start and say, I'm anxiously attached. If you don't text me back, I will panic and I will sabotage and I will think you've abandoned me. But there's shame associated with that because people think, oh, if I tell an avoidant that, they're going to run away. But if they're going to run away, that's fine. You
it
said
doesn't match yourself.
Do you know what I mean?
Exactly.
So you should also sit down and establish, right, okay, I want you to call me every day. I want you to text me every day. I want you to say good night. I want you to do this. There's nothing wrong with it. That's what you want. That's what you need.
And for all the guys out there, or maybe girls, that, you hear like, oh, text me every day and stuff. There's apps out there that can like automate this for you. I'm just letting you know.
He sends me automated good night messages.
Do you? Bro, can you let me know what you use? I think
you can do an Apple with automate text messages.
Right, it's genius because you get what you need.
I complained that he goes to bed without saying good night.
And he sorted out.
So then he said his phone sends automated messages. But I need to have the manual ones as well. I don't like the automated ones.
But how do you know it's automated?
Because it comes through automated.
It's not like a chore, but it's probably quite heavy because they're not used to something like that.
Oh, that's deep, man. Yeah.
Yeah.
How would you accommodate from both ends? Because you can't be just anxious saying,
yeah,
you do all those things for me. You need to say, okay,
yeah,
I need to expect once a week, not like
it's
7 days a week.
Yeah, it's a compromise, you know. Like obviously with someone who's avoidant, they're going to get overwhelmed and is going to be like, oh my god, this is too much. So you establish a compromise, you know. You obviously test. You tell them this is what you want, and if they respond and say like, whoa, this is too much for me, it's suffocating me, you say that's fine, I get it. That's, you know, I'll be happy if you just did this. You know, like if you're going somewhere like far away, just tell me you got there safely, rather than tell me I'm on the train, I'm here, like, which is what an anxious likes. But you know, you have to come to a compromise. It's not one way, because that's quite selfish. So you have. That's why you need to understand their attachment style. So then you know that you understand. Oh, okay, this is how they feel. But you come to a compromise rather than be like, this is exactly how I'm going to have it. because you need to understand as an avoidant, it's really difficult for them to do all of that as well.
But I think the best way to approach an avoidant is to sell them the vision, but not sell them the steps. Because I think they'll work on the steps themselves. So you know the example that you said, the example that you said about the train and stuff. Be like, oh, wouldn't it be lovely for you to just like be able to share like, or you can say like, oh, I would love to know when you get there. Yeah. And then just leave it, like plant that seed, and then when the person's like,
it's scary.
and when the person will think like, oh, like she's just asked me that, like she just wants to know. Then when I get somewhere, I'll be like, oh, actually, let me just text. You know?
Yeah.
It's like planting seeds and selling the story, but they fill in the gaps.
It's also the trust element as well. Like you need to understand that if like an avoidant is showing signs that they're doing something, you need to also understand they're trying their best. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? They're absolutely trying their best. And having one message to say they've reached there safely means that they've like done that. Because even for an avoidant, that's quite a lot to do.
You know what's crazy is I just came back from Bosnia, right? And I don't think I messaged anyone that, oh, I've landed, because I was obviously I'm landing. Do you get it? It's not like a big thing for me. Exactly. The planting seed thing, because I do that to myself. Yeah. Because otherwise I forget so many things. Yeah. So when I do certain things, then I'm like, oh, I need to, like, once that seed is like blossoming, whatever you call it, like, what do you call it when it comes out?
Growing.
When it comes out, then it's like, then I'm like, oh, then I remember all the things that I need to do associated to it. Right. So maybe, no, that'll be interesting.
Yeah, no, I think what you're saying is right. Is tell them the end goal of
exactly, yeah, and then let them figure it out.
Yeah.
So like in South Asian culture, because we're both South Asians, if you can't tell. What would you say most people fall into? Is it like a mixture of anxious and avoidant? Because you mentioned narcissism as well, and I know narcissism is like rampant in South Asian culture.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that. So it depends. Yeah, I think there's a good balance of anxious and avoidant, because like they come in literally pairs. I want to touch on disorganized as well, because it's not mentioned that
there's anxious, avoidant, secure, and disorganized.
Yeah. So disorganized is someone who really wants to be in a relationship but also doesn't. It's called the fearful avoidant.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah, I have elements of that, unfortunately. And it comes from trauma, which is obviously, if you've experienced bad emotions or bad times being in a relationship, then you almost feel too scared. So you have all of the bad things of avoidant and all the bad things of anxious. Wow. It's really tough. So there's a lot of that as well.
But I think that's rampant in our culture, because we're always trying to find a partner, and then often that partner's not on the same page because they might have these attachment issues. And I think people are going through this cycle so much that I think people are transforming into fearful.
Yeah, you're right. I think I see more fearful like on the surface than anything. And unfortunately, it's the most difficult like attachment style to be with. It's one of the most hardest. Whereas anxious is kind of, it's like on the surface, you can see, and avoidant is as well. Exactly. Disorganized is a little bit hidden.
Oh, it's because they're hot and cold.
They're hot and cold.
Yes and no.
Exactly.
So I was singing Katy Perry. Sorry, sorry. Yeah.
Anyway.
We're cutting this out. We cut that out, bro. We cut that out. Oh man, yeah. So go on, carry on.
So do you know what? It actually stems from. So they did an experiment with mother and child. Yeah. They left the child with the mum, and then the mum left the room, and they observed the child's behavior. So an anxious person will start crying when the mum leaves and can't regulate their emotions until the mum comes back. Yeah. The avoidant is not impacted when the mum leaves. The mum comes back, in fact, doesn't show that they were distressed. Even if something catastrophic happened, they won't even show that it affected them. Yeah. Disorganized, you just can't predict. They'll be up and down. You just don't know. It could be a random trigger. It could be anything. And so because they're unpredictable, they're unfortunately the hardest to kind of manage. And what I see kind of through my experience is there's probably a higher proportion of anxiously attached people in our culture. And it kind of anxiously attached people tend more to be women as well. Avoidant naturally tends to be more men. And a lot of South Asian men tend to be avoidant, unfortunately. And it also comes from daddy issues, sorry to say. But, if you've had a dad who was kind of very, like distant, you unfortunately couldn't bond with them, and you felt you took every single life situation as, oh, avoid. And so as an adult, that's how you deal with life. You just avoid everything.
I've seen kind of the opposite. So I've seen avoidant people, because you said that if the mother leaves the room, they show no emotion. And I've seen avoidant people become so independent in their own abilities that they don't avoid it, they just deal with it without emotion.
Yeah, they do. Some people do it, but some people kind of do it on the surface.
Right.
So they pretend that like, oh, this didn't affect me, but like it manifests in a different way and it comes out in a different way as well. So actually regulating your emotions is really, really hard. It's not easy, and with anxious people, you see it. They're crying, they're screaming, why didn't you do this? Why aren't you there for me? But they're able to manage their emotions. They almost get other people to help them self-regulate.
I see.
But they regulate.
Yeah.
Whereas, unfortunately, poor avoidance, they're independently dealing with it, but a lot of them, unfortunately, don't.
They don't know how to, right?
They don't know how to.
They can't even regulate it with others.
Yeah.
I think attachment theory episode is going to be deep.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be deep. I think a lot of people are going to relate to it. Because I think everyone who's watching this now is probably doing the quiz.
Yeah, they probably are.
They're probably doing the quiz.
Yeah. There's loads and loads online that I do want to create my own one, which is based on our culture.
That would be amazing,
Yeah.
No, we can't wait to see. I'll do the quiz on the episode as well, like your quiz.
Are you sure?
Actually, maybe I won't. Maybe I won't.
I was going to say, all secrets will be revealed.
Yeah, we'll answer the quiz on the TV and people will be like, oh, this guy, red flag. No, but I think attachment theory deserves its own.
Can I just say something as well? Sorry to interject. Attachment theory is not red flaggy. Let's stop associating red flags with either if you're anxious, avoidant. It's not a red flag. It's just how you are.
Exactly.
It's not a red flag. So anyone that says avoidant is a red flag, I'm sorry, but you've got no idea about anything, because it's just how a person is, and it's how they communicate. But it doesn't stop you having a fulfilling relationship with someone. But if you think, oh, I've just met someone the first time and they're avoidant, oh, red flag, let's walk away. You've probably missed out on a great partner, because avoidance can be absolutely great partners.
That is interesting. And I think the thing that you're bringing to it as well is you're bringing that South Asian context.
Yeah.
And I think most of the things that I've seen are like mostly focused on. So we'll do a separate session, a separate episode on attachment theory. I think a lot of South Asians are like, they're like waiting for it,
Okay.
I can feel it, because even in the room here,
yeah,
we're getting so much value from what you're saying. And I think the reason why they're not finding partners is because they're not dealing with this as well. And they don't know how to navigate it. And as you said, it's not a red flag, it's just learning how to navigate how you are and being able to share that with someone. That's the...
I agree.
So coming on to a little bit of a lighter topic. So say some people wanted to meet up. Like, what would be a good first thing to do?
Yeah. So I love this topic because I have heard of so many bad first dates, and I've heard of people doing it so wrong. And I constantly ask people, right, okay, so, there's the people that meet at my events and then they go off to do their first dates. Like, what did you guys do? Oh, we went for coffee, we went to do this, we went for a walk. Okay, fair enough, yeah. But,
what's wrong with the walk?
There's nothing wrong with the walk, okay? Now, I'm coming on to why this is important. So it's really, really important you spend time kind of working out what you're going to do together, right? And it's all about the experience, okay? And it's all about bringing the best out in the other person. There's so many people that will say, oh, I went to such and such place, I went to coffee shop after work at 7 p.m. And in fact, Logan talks about it as well. Like I really resonate with this. People don't really think about where they're going to meet this person, and a lot more thought needs to go into this. And it shouldn't be the guy should think about it. Both of them should sit down and be like, okay, what are we going to do? What's our plan? Think about your experience. Think about what you enjoy, what both of you enjoy, and do that together. And the reason why that's important is because the first time you shouldn't be thinking about your checklist. You shouldn't be thinking, oh, they've got like dark hair, they're this tall, blah, blah, blah. You shouldn't be thinking about that. You should be thinking, do I enjoy their company enough to see them again, right? And you're not going to know who that person is the first time. So stop thinking about all of that. Stop asking them all those awkward questions like, what's your pay? What's your salary? Stop,
Imagine, man, asking how much do you earn?
Yeah.
Bruh, moist. Yeah, we've been through.
It does,
Yeah.
yeah.
That kind of makes
Exactly.
sense as well, though.
What? How much do you earn?
Yeah, as in if you can provide. I mean,
But who's the one that provides?
You're not. You're.
Oh,
Yeah, you're going to meet someone. They're not providing for you. You're not doing a nikah, and do you know what I mean?
Someone asked me once. They were like, "Do you drive?" And I was like, "I can drive." They were like, "Do you have a car?" And I was like, "There is a car available." And then they were like, "Oh, okay, fine." And I was like, "What about? Ask me if I have my own place. Like, is that not like high up there as well?"
But even that, like, these are just attributes
Exactly,
of a
yeah.
person. They don't define who that person is.
And they
Like,
can come later on as well.
exactly, it's all
Yeah.
material. All of this stuff, kind of stuff you can buy. You can do like a driving course. You can do that tomorrow.
I was going to ask, do you think family has an impact on this as well?
Yeah, definitely. Parents tell you what your checklist is.
Oh yeah.
You
Well,
know?
give an example. What would like your parents?
To be fair, my parents are different. My parents, like, they are very, very different. They are, honestly,
What
my
have
dad
you
is really
heard?
cool.
Yeah.
Parents tend to be like, yeah, fine. They always say, don't go for the youngest son, go for the eldest son.
What?
Honestly, this is
People
the kind
say
of
that?
people say this kind of stuff.
But I mean,
It-
such a
it-
nice fella. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Go on.
Yeah, obviously what they do has to be a doctor, engineer, all that kind of stuff. Obviously they earn how much they earn. It's all about money. It's kind of that's how then children like resonate. They think this is my checklist. And again, like moving on to what I was saying about how we're moving into, from arranged marriages to now finding someone ourselves. We need to, as much as parents are great, not every parent will give the best advice in terms of finding someone. And I think checklists are probably, I mean, Logan says to absolutely ditch them. I totally don't agree with that, because as a Muslim, we do have certain things that we need to like tick off. But our checklists are wrong, and I've also been there where I've also been like, oh, I want this. And then obviously realize that that person can have all of those things, but be the worst human being ever. Do you know what I mean? And when you've gone through that experience, you think, throw the checklist in the bin.
I have a checklist,
Okay.
but it's not to do with material things. Like, you know me, I don't care about like things, right? But I look for like examples of character, because I think if you're a person and you're telling me that, oh, you're like, your dad's just come into the house and you want to go check if he's eaten food, that's like character.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you're caring.
Yeah.
Exactly. If you're like a girl and you're like, oh, you're talking, when I ask you, oh, where do you want to go, and you say, oh, you want to do Umrah again, that's character. Like, it's more than just a holiday.
Yeah.
So those types of things.
Those are really good, because then that character stays with that person, and for me, like, loyalty is such a big thing. Loyalty, kindness, and how they are as a person, and someone who has a growth mindset as well. So, like, for example, if you tell them that this is a problem, they don't say, oh, like, they don't become defensive and say,
Exactly, yeah.
oh, like this, like, you always put this on me. They think, okay,
They're open to it.
there's clearly an issue here. How can we move forward from this?
Exactly.
And some people with growth mindsets are rare, right? So if you find them,
Well, we have a question from the audience,
I have a question.
Yeah.
So my question is this: like, just to rewind a tiny bit, you were talking about Asian families. Typically, they're looking for someone that's like a doctor, engineer, that traditional role. In this room, we're all like entrepreneurial. Do you feel like that's becoming more of a thing? Because obviously, with tech and stuff, like, people are making like crazy money, like set up a YouTube channel. And we've seen people in a year and they're like fucking millionaires. Do you feel like that is having an effect on how people are thinking, or do you still think they're still thinking about those like traditional roles? Because that ties into growth mindsets. If you're growth mindset, you're more likely to break out that box and try and do something new and unique.
Yeah. What was the question? So do you think it's?
Do you think the Asian parents are thinking outside of those like traditional job roles now?
Yes, I think Asian parents are, like, some are a lot more open-minded, but a lot of the time, right, they'll say, okay, fair enough, he's an entrepreneur. They'll be like, how much do they earn?
Exactly.
It'll all come back to money, and like, those, like, you could meet someone who's got a business and is earning nothing. They're making like loss after loss, but they're that person. They've got all those characteristics, the building blocks of being amazing.
Exactly.
5 years down the line, that person could be a millionaire, but you have totally missed that.
Exactly.
So, and kind of going back to what you were saying as well, we as individuals, we have to learn how to sell sell this idea to our parents. You know, if your parents are not like those kind of parents that are like, you know, understanding of what this new checklist is like, you need to sell them the idea of, okay, like this person is like this, there's potential in this person, and that's your job.
Yeah, I don't think parents are equipped at the moment. Like, because the fields that you're talking about is things that we're in, we're living this at the moment. Like this whole concept of side hustles, entrepreneurship, that's the last 5 years. And I don't think parents, they're quick enough to jump on that. They're thinking, oh, real estate, doctor, engineer, stuff like that. They're still thinking kind of backwards. And to sell them the new version of what people are becoming, like if someone asks me for my bank statements, I'm like, bruh, you know, that's the only way you can prove it. Like, how much money are you earning? What do you really see? Like, are you ready if I show you your? So we spoke about the best places to go for your first encounter, right? You said sometimes it's all about the experience, it's not about the checklist. So to leave the checklist at the door, focus on what's the experience like? Do I enjoy their company?
Yeah, exactly. And I think what's really important as well is that there's so many people out there that will do the first dates.
Yeah.
And then they think, oh, I'm going to write this person off. How can you write someone off after an hour?
Yeah.
Like, I think that's insane, right?
So where would you also say is the best place to go? Because you mentioned
Yeah.
coffee shops.
Well, no, I
Coffee
said
shop at 7 p.m., bro. Who's
coffee-
having coffee
No,
at that time?
I mean, coffee is fine, but you know, you should always have a follow-up second date if you're just doing a coffee shop.
Yeah.
But I say don't rush your dates. Plan a day on a weekend, like make a couple of hours of it, and make an experience of it. So, like for example, if you both like food, like say let's find a little tour where you are around a certain area. Let's find the best, like I don't know, burgers, whatever it is. Do something like that. If you like sports, go and actually do something that's sporty, something you both enjoy. You see your competitive spirit, and you get to see that other person's personality.
Yeah.
Whereas if you sit down with coffee and you're like, okay, how was your day? Like, oh, what do you do tomorrow? That's not exciting. So
Exactly.
how?
There needs to be an adventure, right?
Yeah. So that I think for me that's the cusp of it. But also first dates are not enough. That person, always give them a second chance, but as long as they're okay with seeing you again, you know, see them twice.
Yeah.
And then think, okay, right, no, I'm not feeling it or whatever. Make a decision. And to be fair, I personally don't think that 2 dates are enough. I think like minimum 4 or 5 to make a decision.
So for the guys who are struggling, can you give, and who only love coffee shops, can you give like 2 places, 2 activities to do?
Yeah. I mean, we went to the arcade.
Arcade is nice,
that was like so much fun. So I always think games are a really good thing. Go to like a
mini golf.
Mini golf. Yeah, I hate golf. So
It's mini golf.
I'm really bad at it. I mean, again, like a lot of people disagree with bowling because I'm really bad at bowling. So find something that you're both maybe good at.
Yeah,
something like that.
fun.
Don't go to the cinema. And
Who goes to the cinema?
exactly, like no. But do something like activity based, where you're getting up doing something. There's so many VR, AR things out there, like especially in London.
VR is wicked. Remember the Wembley one? Amazing, yeah.
Yeah, do that. Something that where you can go talk a bit about it, get excited.
Can I just give a quick story about the VR one?
Yeah.
So one of my friends, he took a lass to VR, and it was like a zombie apocalypse thing. So you just had to kill all the zombies. The girl started crying. She was like, "Nah, it's too much. It's too much." Like
that was
she was
his mistake.
panicking
You
and
should
stuff.
have asked her maybe.
And then they changed the game, and it was like a farming game. And my friend was like, "What is this?" Like, yeah,
Oh,
they
dear.
didn't meet up after that.
Oh, see, but that's just a circumstance, right? If the circumstance was different, maybe they would have got on. So this is why your date experience, you have to think about it. You have to plan it.
But you know, I disagree with you. I think going out for coffee, it's a good like water tester. Because you know, like if I see a lass and I'm like, bruh, nah. Then at least
you're
it's just a
basing it off
coffee.
looks, aren't you?
No, like through a conversation, a little bit of personality. You know?
Okay, right.
But if it's like completely like, oh no, I'm not feeling this.
but
The coffee shop is a safe.
You can't rule someone off after an hour of coffee. That's what I'm saying. You can, but I don't think so. You will filter through too many people if you keep going on coffee date after coffee date.
Yeah. It has to be something.
Yeah,
a
and like
bit
that
more
same
interactive.
person, like I bet you, if we did a little social experiment, we picked 10 girls, right? And then you took all these 10 girls on 1 hour coffee dates.
Yeah.
And then again, you did the same thing, but a different experience, like do like sixes or something you enjoy.
I see, yeah.
You would feel
A different
so
experience.
much different. You'd be like, actually, you know, I maybe I could get to know this person.
I see what you mean.
Can we do this experiment?
Yeah, can we do it?
No.
I'll-
Yeah, I think we should do it.
I think we should do it.
We should copy the Sidemen, just Yassine versus 10 women.
I can't.
Lucky you,
I
Yassine.
can't-
Look how many chairs we have here.
I can't think of
Look, you ask why they have so many chairs.
anything worse, bro. No way. So, you've mentioned that you're doing events to help people like become better. You're doing events and workshops so that people can deal with like attachment issues,
Yeah.
deal with like paradoxes. You're also offering like a service as well to like matchmake people as well.
So not yet. That's the long-term vision.
Yeah.
I think as a matchmaker, I feel like I would benefit more from more experience,
Yeah.
and also I haven't got a list of clients right now. So that is the long-term dream.
Okay.
I'm doing a relationship course. I'm doing a behavioral course. Like I'm skilling myself.
You're building it up. So
Yeah.
one thing I want to like focus on specifically with Muslims is Muslims don't necessarily do dating, right? So everything that we do, we have to do with like a clean intention to begin with.
Yeah.
So what would you say are some of the things that Muslims should really think about when they're making that intention
Yeah.
and how they act on it?
Yeah, I love that question because again, it gets popped up in a lot of the events that I have. So we have an app called MUSMatch, or it's called what's it called? Mus, whatever it's called. But yet, a lot of people don't use it for marriage. So a lot of people complain to me, oh, that app, yeah, it's made for marriage, but no one uses it for marriage. So what I'm seeing is that people are like kind of using it as like, let's filter through people, let's go through lots of dates. I think the onus should be on you as a person about what your intent is. So I know a lot of girls that will say, oh, but if we tell a guy on the first time that we're just looking to get married, or even if a guy says that, they say, oh, the other person will run away. But dude, like if they run away, then fair enough.
Let them run, yeah.
They're not around for marriage. They're around
Exactly.
for time wasting.
Exactly.
So we need to get more confident and more okay with what our intent is, and like for a lot of people, they want to keep it as halal as possible. Tell that person, look, I want to get to know you for a year. I want you to meet my parents. And then after that, I want to get married. Do you know what I mean? I think because no one is doing that in the space, or there's very little people, it's weird. Like people find it weird. But the more we do it, the more it normalizes, the more okay it gets.
So I think you've touched on something before. You know how you said our parents are from like a different generation of doing things, and we're doing things in a very different way. So I think to bring the parents into how we're doing things, I think that might be a bit tricky for some people, right?
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of people are like, oh yeah, let me just get to know you, and then getting to know you for their own individualistic reasons.
Yeah.
But then there's the wider family picture as well.
Yeah.
But the family doesn't necessarily understand that individualistic need, right? So is that a challenge that you're seeing as well?
You know what? It depends. And I think it's going back to what I was saying as well. Like if you're in the process of finding a partner, you need to tell your parents that you are in the process of that. It shouldn't come as a surprise.
Exactly.
So, like they might be still looking for a partner through the WhatsApp apps or whatever their profile that they're looking at. Tell them that, look, I'm starting this process on the side. If they're like angry about it, they're screaming about it, then that's already a sign that when you introduce the person, they're going to start freaking out.
Exactly.
So you need to, as yourself, as an individual, you need to work with your parents to say, look, I want to get married.
I think that's a good question to ask. Like, do your parents know that you're looking?
Yeah,
do your
yeah,
parents
that's
know
true.
that you're
That's
you're
a very
chatting to
good
people?
question to ask
Yeah.
because then you know how serious they are as well.
Exactly, yeah. And then at least the parents will be on the page that, oh, like if I just randomly rock up
yeah,
with like a box of like celebrations, they won't be like, what the hell is this? Yeah.
But also as well, like I have to caveat that I know this conversation is hard because we are that first generation going through this process. So for a lot of people telling their parents that I'm looking for someone. In fact, there was a girl who said, I haven't told my parents I'm on the apps because I don't want to have that conversation. So, but we need to start having these difficult conversations with our parents because what if one day we meet that person, we're ready to tell our parents, and then the reason it all flops is because the parents are on board. Like, do you know what I mean? So it's no chicken and egg. You've got to get them involved.
So I think that can be another episode, and you'll probably have a workshop on that, right? Like how to have these conversations.
The whole generational trauma is going to be like a
It's gonna cover
series
that.
of workshops, how to communicate with the parents. It's not just parents; it's extended family. It's just
Oh,
it's so
bruh.
many.
The uncles and aunties,
Yeah.
Marvelous. So, so say you're a lass, you're walking down the street, and you're a romanticizer and you're thinking about Shah Rukh Khan and stuff, and you see a guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, you see a guy, you're like, wow, this could be him. Like, should the girl make the first move?
Right. Okay. So again, love this conversation because back in the day, in the olden times, women used to drop their handkerchief. Okay, and so they were indirectly making the first move, and there was no shame around it. In fact, it was very attractive. It was amazing, and the guy would follow up on it. Right. Now there is so much shame around women even marginally doing that. Right. We've had conversations around it as well, and you know, it's like even if a woman wants to do it, it's like, oh, like she's making the first move. Like, ew. I get that it's hard. I'm a woman. I understand. But you don't need to be as direct as be like, right, should we go on a date on Tuesday, 7 p.m.? You don't need to do that. You can go up to that person and be like, okay, don't talk about the weather, but like you can maybe talk about a drink that you're buying. Let's say you are in a cafe or in a restaurant and say, oh, what have you ordered? Have that conversation. When you're having that conversation, you break the ice, that person, keep the conversation flowing. And, you know, if you see what their body language is like, you'll instantly realize if they're interested or not.
Exactly.
And at some point, either the guy will say, oh, can we exchange details? If he doesn't do it, just say, oh, like, you know what, like, I think it'd be really good if, you know, we went somewhere, you know, we can totally do that as a woman.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I'm just laughing.
I was going to ask, why is that?
Why is what?
Do you have an answer why it's getting so hard for them to do that?
It's a shame associated around it. Like, I think women think that their feminine energy is kind of not really, you know, it's kind of dimmed down if they be masculine and ask a guy out. It's very feminine to go up to a man and just have a conversation. And you're not directly asking them out. You know,
just showing interest.
You're just showing interest.
Yeah.
So a lot of women feel like they don't want to be masculine.
They treat it as masculine. You know, it's funny, if a girl like dropped her handkerchief or like her bag or something, like it's kind of weird. I know what guys would do. They'll be like, oh, you dropped something. Here you go, boss. Like, nice to meet you. That's it. You know?
That's true as well, because lots of girls have said to me, we've tried to do that and the guy doesn't get it. Yeah. In fact, a lot of girls have exchanged details and are chatting to them, having conversation, and the guy thinks it's totally platonic. So that does happen. You guys need to pick up on social cues better.
But doesn't that happen the other way as well?
It does.
Like,
but
my own experience, it was very common.
Yeah, that totally does happen. But again, you're just friends. Like, you're just becoming friends. And at some point, one person will be like, okay, do you want to go on a date? You know, eventually that will happen. If it doesn't happen after 1 or 2 months, take the hint that this person doesn't want to be more than
You know, I saw one guy do this. Shall I share it? Let me share it.
Okay.
Wait, let me get something.
Okay.
Wait, hang on.
What are you getting out of your pocket?
It's not a handkerchief. So a guy came up to me, and he does this to make friends, right?
Right.
So he's like, oh, I got something. Just give me your hand.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wait, what is this shit you put on me?
So you're gonna smell it, right?
Yeah.
And then, but the one that he put on me was so strong that I smelled it for like 2 days. And then I kept thinking of the guy. I was like, man, I wish I knew where he got it from.
Yeah.
So then when I saw him the next time, I was like, bros, you put something on me.
Bro.
It smelled phenomenal. How did you do it? And he's like, oh yeah, I have a shop. Like, and he gave me the little tub. And like then he was like, yeah, you should do this. Like, just put it on people. They'll remember you.
It's a little bit creepy though.
I was gonna
Why is that creepy? That's not creepy because when you go into a mosque, people are putting it on you all the time.
It's a nicotine thing, like the addiction, creating an addiction for someone about you.
No, bruv. It's association to something that smells nice. Like
I get
associating
that.
to a sense, right?
The association thing is pretty cool. Like a lot of people would write notes and give them notes or whatever.
Yeah.
It's that thing.
Yeah.
It's giving them a bit of material. I think that's quite personal.
Because I started doing this with everyone at work.
Well, I think it's different. I think as a friend, it's fine.
Yeah.
I think it is. But I think in the situation of trying to introduce yourself to someone you've just seen on the street.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Oh, let me rub this. Like,
Yeah.
It's a little bit. Yeah, it's a bit too much.
I think if anyone, imagine they get allergic reaction. But I think once you've broken down that contact, and once you've like said hi, how you doing, like oh your shoes, all that stuff, and then like just as a leaving thing, just be like oh hey, let me just give you something, and then
I think
because I do this with my Uber drivers.
Okay.
Yeah, like you know after.
Well, you date them.
No, like. You know, after the trip is finished, yeah, I'm like, oh, like I had such a good conversation. Like, let me just give you something, and they're like, what? Because nobody gives Uber drivers anything, yeah. And then I give them something, and they're like, wow, that smells so good. And then sometimes I've been like, people have messaged me afterwards saying, oh, that thing smelled so good. Like, thank you so much. And it's just like,
yeah, that's very
a nice-
personable, and I think that's a really good idea because you as a person could make something personable that they could take away. Yeah,
brothers, stop! Don't copy me because I'm doing this everywhere now.
I don't think anyone's gonna copy you, mate.
Bro, they will. I guarantee you. There's one guy. I even know who it is. Julian, this guy. So yeah, I think leaving like because you can leave an impression.
Yeah.
And then if you're not good at leaving impression, like leave a little token.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, so we've talked about girls making the first move. And
Okay.
I think it would be interesting, like if a guy shows interest and a girl's genuinely interested, like it's nice to like for them to demonstrate that. Because then the guy's like, okay, yeah, calm. I've made the move, chilling, it's working.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah,
It's like
exactly.
positive reinforcement.
Yeah, and again, I've mentioned this before as well, but like we bring our ego too much into this process, and I know everyone has an ego, but we have to get over it.
Yeah.
And rejection, like you need to understand if you're going to be in this process, you will get rejected. So what are you going to lose, right? If there's someone you want to approach, just freaking go for it.
Make the move, yeah.
The loss that you're going to get is they're going to reject you,
Yeah.
but that person wasn't for you, right? So we need to like dissociate our ego with this entire process and go into it thinking
Open mind.
open-minded. We are on a mission here. Like, come on, think about it, right? The amount of job interviews that we do. If we brought our ego into every single job interview,
It'd be a nightmare. Yeah.
you know, we wouldn't get a job.
So we're coming up to the end, and I know we're going to be covering a lot of these topics in depth.
Yeah.
For the people that are watching that have been trying to find someone for the past like couple of years, what advice would you give to them?
Okay, so I'm just going to be very direct and honest. If you have been single for 5 years, right, and you've been actively looking, you've been swiping for 5 years, you've been putting yourself out there, now is the time to just stop for a little moment, take a month break or how long time you need, and rethink every single thing you're doing, from your checklist or your expectations all the way to the process of how you're doing this. You know, I would also actually I'm going to advise everyone to go into, you know, I don't know if it's therapy or find a coach. You know, you have to think you've been doing something for 5 years and it's not working.
Exactly.
You have to strip back almost everything. So take some time to kind of think about, right, okay, what didn't work? Did I ever get close? What is it that I really want? What can I compromise on? What are my must-haves? How can I change my whole process of finding a partner? Again, I talked about, like the first dates. You know, what is the main problem that I'm facing? A lot of people say, like I said, you know, a lot of men do say this to me, that they have lots of first dates. They don't progress to the second date.
Yeah.
So why? Is it because of the experience? You know, what is happening wrong? So it's really important to look at all of those things that kind of went wrong and sort of sit down and analyze this. And I have to say, everyone I talk to about finding a partner, it's all like, oh, it should all happen magically. You know, it should all be like this. No, it doesn't happen magically. It doesn't. Like, let's get out of that movie and you've got to sit down and think, okay, I want to be with someone, I want to settle down in the next year. What am I going to do? What am I going to change? So I would say really, really step back, take a break, and
figure out
rethink
what's going on.
all of this.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think, yeah, you've mentioned a lot of things already, like the checklist. Maybe it's your attachment style that's like stopping you taking. It's like if you're hesitant, if you're fearful, like are those the things that are like stopping you from progressing?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot to look into.
Unfortunately, it's going to sound horrible when I say this, but a lot of people say that if they've been single for 5 years, they say, oh, there's just no one out there. It's not that. It's
there's people out there.
Unfortunately, you know, you are. I wouldn't say you're the problem, because that's very harsh, but there's something that you're not doing correctly, because there are thousands and millions of people out there that are getting married and finding someone.
Exactly. So, talking about all these good things, what is MUSCONNECT doing to help with this?
Yeah. So our focus kind of, I guess for the next year is going to be bringing in some of these workshops, getting more awareness of kind of this like kind of issues that we have around attachment style, communication, how to date. So we're going to have like a whole stream of like workshops. We're going to bring in some actual experts as well, not just me blabbing on, who are going to come and kind of teach you all of this. So that's the kind of the workshops side of things. We'll always run our monthly games event for free. That's always going to happen. So that will still be happening, but we're going to run specific singles events as well. So I have a few ideas of how I want to do them next year. I'm not going to say too much right now, but I want to change up the game in terms of like how events work. It's going to be more focused. It's more like sort of targeted. And the plan is that, you know, you leave that event with someone or some sort of match or something to sort of work on. Kind of those are kind of my main areas of focus. You know, eventually as well, I want to branch out into matchmaking, which is like providing one-on-one service. I think
you'll be really good at that, honestly.
Really?
Yeah, I actually think so. Yeah.
I really do think that it's probably the most effective way of finding a partner, especially like in this day and age, because that includes everything from coaching to therapy to like, you know, the do's and don'ts. So it's a full-on service.
But I don't think it's one-on-one. I think it's one and family, you know?
Because
you can help the person and also speak to their parents and be like, listen, geez, like, you don't know what you're doing. Let me help you.
The families have to be involved, absolutely.
Exactly.
So, you know, my plan is to hopefully start that, probably not next year, the year after, actual matchmaking services. But yeah, we've got loads of ideas, lots of things to do. And yeah, if anyone wants us to do something specific as well, we're all ears.
Marvellous. Well, and we timed it with the end of the thing as well. Marvellous. Thank you so much, Wajeeha, for coming back
That's all right.
on.
Thanks for having me.
We're looking forward to the series that we're going to be doing.
That's going to get deep.
Getting deep into... Do you want to give another shout out to the book?
Yes, Logan Yuri. She's honestly awesome. Read this book. It's honestly got so much advice and so many tips on here. It's definitely helped me a lot as well. It will shake up the entire way you look at.
Wow. Yeah, I need to read it as well then. All right, guys. Until the next one, we will catch you soon. Take care. Bye.